So you're starting a podcast because you've seen the power of this medium and you love authentic relationships. However, you have no idea how to do all of the production, post-production, networking, and audience building type stuff. Don't worry, you're in the right spot because today I'm on with Gabriel Neal.
Thank you. So glad to be here.
That first 30 seconds is the most important of the entire video. The first minute and a half means that they will watch your video if you did it well and they're still having fun at a minute 30. At a minute 30, if they've enjoyed themselves, they will watch the rest of your video.
Some people came to us and they're like, dude, y'all sounded just like a podcast, like y'all flowed great together. So then the next time we were having a Bible study, we were like having this good conversation. He was like, dude, we could record this as a podcast. Let's have fun just learning more about God, and people can learn more just listening to it.
Who are you trying to reach? Who's going to find your content and go, man, I just want to get into it. Tell me about China.
We had a lady that would watch us, and all she spoke was Chinese. We called her Wang Ai. So me and my brother spoke fluent Chinese to her because we had to speak to her. So growing up, we could speak great Chinese. This dude called and he was like, hey, would you want to come help us build a school in China? I'm actually about to go on the road to Oklahoma for a month.
So you travel with them?
I've traveled once before.
You're a traveling gypsy. Look at you, my man. Gabriel, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. So glad to be here.
Well, dude, you're starting a podcast. What kind of podcast are you starting? Because I think there's a lot of people who watch this particular podcast. And there's a lot of folks here who just want to hear the voice of the Lord. And we're going to get into that. And we're going to get into your story. But there are some people here who want to start a podcast of their own. Just got back from doing a podcast launch here in the last couple weeks. And they have questions. And I think you have a bunch of similar questions. You've launched a podcast here recently with a buddy of yours, and you're wanting to bring in the video element. What's going on? I think your questions could illuminate the audience.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'll jump straight into it.
Okay.
And I'll kind of explain where I'm at in the process.
Okay.
So my questions make more sense. So where we're at is we got mics and we got an audio interface. And how I do it is I record it into the audio interface.
Okay.
Straight into it. And I don't edit anything anymore. I just raw record it, end it. I export the audio.
Okay.
I throw it into DaVinci to add usually a photo and then an outro video that we have and whatever. And then export that and then upload that.
Okay.
But I have no video for let's say it's a 15-minute podcast.
Sure.
I put a backdrop or an image to hold, like if you were listening, like an album cover or whatever, right? So it holds an image, but I have no video.
So let's slow it down even from that, because I think we just blew some people's minds as to what you're talking about.
Yeah.
So you have two microphones in a podcast at least, because you're talking to someone else, or maybe some people out there, they'll be doing like a Zoom call. So you're on a Skype or a Zoom, and that's the way it's recorded. But you have two microphones of capturing the audio that goes into what you called an audio interface. And so the audio interface is just let's just break down the language, like a recording box that captures all the audio. It's like a recorder, right?
Yeah.
So
exactly.
You've got a recorder. So then you take it to like a post-production software, which is DaVinci Resolve for you.
Yep.
And then, which is a free software, and I highly recommend that for anybody in video getting started out. It's harder to learn, but it is it's a free one. It seems to be the flagship these days. Anyway, so you take that into there, you edit it. Well, you try not to edit it. You want to get a whole hunk of it.
Yeah.
No editing. And then you put it up on YouTube or?
So we do YouTube and Spotify.
Okay.
For podcasts. And then we'll record shorts. So we bought two like little mobile Bluetooth mics.
Sweet.
Plug them into my phone.
Mm-hmm.
We'll record a little goofy or just, ones where we say like 1 Corinthians 10:13 says this, and we quote a Bible verse and then explain it. So we'll do reels and then we'll post that on YouTube, and then we have an Instagram. So we do those three.
Awesome.
Is where we post.
Awesome.
And kind of bounce back and forth.
So the reason you kind of swirled by today, which I think it'd be interesting for people to know that like we weren't planning a podcast before this. It was like I think most people don't know that I do batch recording. So all of our podcasts are filmed within inside of a week, and we'll we'll do like, I don't know, 4 or 6 or however many I can fit in with people coming by because they have different schedules and
Yeah.
people are busy, right?
Yeah.
But if they can swing by, I can tell them any time of the day or night, I've rented this building, come in, sit down, we'll hash out a podcast. I can film it up and you can roll out. Well, you had contacted me, like a week ago maybe or something?
Yeah, something like that.
And you're like, hey, I want to know how to do the video portion. So you were supposed to swing by on one of the times when we were recording and just capture like how do you, see how this all works, how it's set up, and maybe, ask some questions on it. But I think this is where I think the fun overlap is. I think the Lord is setting us up for something, a cool conversation of like, how does this work? Like, what are the foundational elements of a podcast? Like, if you have a message or a conversation that you want to have, how do you capture that well so that the world can see it? Because, that's ultimately the goal. So that God can put his hand on it and it can do what it needs to do, right?
Exactly.
So I think before we get into all the audio technical parts, because I didn't answer your question yet, I think the most primo question that you can start with on a podcast is if you are a believer, what has God put on your heart to share with the world? Why are you doing the podcast?
Why am I doing the podcast?
You and your
Great
buddy. I
question.
should include that.
So I'll explain how it started.
Okay.
So Caleb loves to do short sermons. He's like great at it.
Who is Caleb?
Caleb Smith is a good buddy from like way back. I started going to kids' church at Cornerstone, and we were both in kids' church. And then we didn't really connect at that moment, but we knew each other. We were like kind of friends. And then as it went on, we both got into youth. And then at some point, I wouldn't even be able to pinpoint the time, but we became like best friends, like super close. So then we started doing Bible studies, all these things. And
like together?
Slowly, yes, us and multiple other people. Okay. And then slowly people started dropping out. And so it began just us. So me and him would meet once a week, 6 a.m., Peacocks, and just have a Bible study.
6 a.m., bro. There's another time to have Bible studies.
He had school, I had work, so we just tried to get in there, do it, and then get out. So we started doing that. And then one week he was like, dude, let's do a joint sermon together. I was like, no. I hate getting in front of people and talking. And so I said, no. He said, let's do it. And so after asking me, I was like, sure, let's do one. Okay, I'll do it. So me and him got up and did a joint sermon at youth at Cornerstone. And it went great. We talked about having peace because me and him connect on just enjoying life and having peace.
Yeah.
And so we talked about that. And afterwards, some people came to us and they're like, dude, y'all sounded just like a podcast, like y'all flowed great together. So then the next time we were having a Bible study, we were like having this good conversation. And he was like, dude, we could record this as a podcast. So we did it. We were just like, let's have fun just learning more about God, and people can learn more just listening to it. So that's how it started. Yeah.
Did it change the dynamics at all whenever you sat down and put on a microphone, or were y'all just like straight into it?
So I talked to people. The first couple ones, we didn't really know what we were doing. And also we're like not used to talking on mics. So you can tell we're not good at this. The first two. And then as we started a John series and we started just reading John, and as it went, we got more comfortable and the aspect changed to just wanting to learn. Like we had talked about, I just want to get on and we have a conversation and learn and just put it out there.
Yeah.
And so then it became that, and it went great. We're getting way more comfortable with it.
So with most folks, what I love about that is like your why is because you want to learn more about God, and you think other people would want to come along in that process and
Exactly.
be encountered by him as well. Just like the two buddies are. So yours is going to be like for most people, whenever I'm kind of counseling them on their podcast, it's like, okay, who are you trying to reach? First of all, what is your message? Like, what does God put on your heart to do? Secondly, like, who's that target audience of who's going to find your content and go, man, this is what I'm talking about. Yours kind of a little bit different because you're just putting it out there for whoever comes along the way and snatches it up. But if you were to like drill it down and like dream of a target person that you're like, that person, if they came across our videos, what do they look like? What do they eat for breakfast? What do they think about?
Yeah, exactly. So if I was to picture what I would think who would listen to my podcast
Yeah.
or who would connect with it, would be somebody just listening to a Bible study, because it's a lot like that. Just connecting, not getting all, I mean, we sometimes do, we go on rabbit trails a lot, but not getting super like in deep on things,
Yeah.
but more like, let's just get into the word. We did John, we did James, so some simple things and just talking about the word. And then we like to have some guests on that have cool testimonies and just, talk how do they picture God? Why did they come to Jesus? Stuff like that. So we have interviews, we do verse by verse breakdowns. And so the audience I would think listens to it would be just a Christian looking to listen to a Bible study. I like to, while I'm at work, put in a earbud and listen to podcasts of Bible studies.
Boy, me too.
Different things like that. And just listen to Jesus as you're going through work. It makes life so much better.
It sure does.
It does. It really does. So that's the audience. Just somebody wanting to listen to a Bible study. And we're also we'd like to do a series called like To the Dear Unbeliever or To the Unbeliever. And just
like a letter?
talk.
An open
Yeah,
letter.
like a letter, just talking to, and we'd pick certain religions and just kind of talk to somebody that would be in that religion and what we would say to them. So we'd like to kind of also indulge in that audience group.
Cool.
So, yeah.
Well, the knowing who you're talking to kind of helps shape like I said, the topics of what you want to get into. So if you know that you're talking to, so for my audience, I think I told you before we came on camera here a little bit, I have like this super drilled down person that is like the center of who I'm trying to speak to. And that is it's like a business, it's like this hybrid business believer person who is trying to follow the voice of the Lord with everything that they've got, and they're putting their whole business, their family, their finances behind what he's telling them to do, and he or she wants to grow in like hearing the voice of the Lord, how to like take risks, how to do it together in community, how you just all that stuff, and that's like the pinprick. But I also get, the wider one is business folks who are struggling with forming a podcast. I also get some church folks who have stumbled across my podcast and want to grow in hearing the voice of the Lord. So like you get other things, but if you're targeting like where you came up with your target avatars, what we call them in the biz, your avatar, and you know what they eat for breakfast. You think about what they struggle with. You think about the questions that they have for your case in the Word. Like, what are they struggling with in life? What are those like topical things? What are they struggling with in their faith? Just all sorts of things, like their pain points. If you can think and articulate to them the struggles that they have, and you can pray about and get the answers or guide them in the right direction of where to find those answers, all of a sudden you become authority in that space, in that piece of content, and trust begins to build. And that's what I love about podcasts is if you keep talking about the topics that your target audience is interested in, then they keep on growing and listening, and they trust you a little bit more, and you get to expand the topics just a smidge further and maybe open their eyes to a friend of mine, and I'll ask a question, I promise, but a friend of mine and I, we were arguing back and forth, and we were saying, because I listen to so many podcasts, I'm like, they're life-changing, man. Just listen to them throughout the day. And I think he might have been more right than I was. He said they're not necessarily life-changing, but they do open up a conversation. So like if you trust somebody, and maybe you're not a believer for your podcast, but you've come across these people, they seem to be telling the truth, you've spent some time with them, and you're willing to allow them a little extra room, you'll entertain the idea that maybe there is a God. You might move them just an inch down the road, then they'll entertain the idea. And the longer they spend with you, the more time that they spend on the platform, on the podcast, the more time, one, the Holy Spirit gets to work on them, for your case, but two, they get to be like kind of introduced to different thoughts and ideas. I think he was right in that as far as podcasts. So you have your avatar, which I think is the most important thing. You're drilling in on that. The more that you can think about how they think and the way that they phrase their questions and the struggles that they deal with, and you can like deliver answers to their times of trauma, the greater breakthrough and the greater impact your podcast is going to have, like throughout time. The rest of the things that we talk about, I'm looking around here because I'm looking at the lights and the mics and the, high definition cameras and stuff that we've got going on here. That stuff is all fluff. If this was shot on a Zoom podcast, it would be the same. Like the content, the impact, the conversation would be the thing that actually remains and matters. But to your point just a minute ago, audio is also like primo for a podcast. I mean, nobody's going to listen to a bad audio thing. So first and foremost is the avatar for your target audience, drilling in on them. And then second, like, how do you structure y'all's episodes? How do you structure your content? And you already went through that where you said, like, we do Bible studies. We do the letters that you're looking into, kind of dear non-believer, dear Muslim, dear Hindu,
Yeah, exactly.
Dear spiritualist. Have you considered? I don't know how you would do it, but you're addressing pain points.
Yeah.
If you'll notice at the beginning of this podcast, we started off with, I asked a question of the audience. Are you considering, like, are you wanting to start a podcast? Have you ever considered, or starting a podcast is hard? I'm talking to a pain point that my extreme target audience has. Now, some of these guys who are sticking around for like hearing the voice of the Lord, they haven't satisfied that itch yet. They're going to find that later on in the podcast. But the guys who are going, yeah, I'm a business person. I want to start or maybe I'm not a business person, but I want to start a podcast and I'm having these pain points. You're answering by your questions. You're answering those pain points right away. So we're building trust, a little meta thing that's going on right now. That's how you structure your podcast. So if you think about it, I'm going to go even further. In YouTube land, your title and your thumbnail is your pain point. Okay?
Okay.
That's going to be a little thing that hopefully maybe you'll go back in the podcast and take a look at later, but that's huge. On YouTube, packaging is everything. And so the way that somebody will stop, as you notice when you're scrolling, is something that is, one, interesting. But it's interesting, but you'll also stop if you find something that somebody is talking to a pain point that you have, or an outcome that you'd like to see in your world. Those are the times that your eye goes, stop, what are they talking about? Because one, it's either like really cool and you're like, okay, cool, a guy's jumping a gorge on a motorcycle for me. I'm going to watch that because it's short and it's 30 seconds. I'm going to watch that real quick. But if I go across, I'm going to find, I don't know, maybe I'm having a struggle with my wife on something, and they say, how to finally communicate to your wife about it. You go, oh, or really in my world, it's like usually carpentry and handyman type stuff. It's like how to build a house. That's me. I need to know how to build that. Those are the things that cause people to stop. Those are the things that before you even start recording your podcast, if it's going to go on YouTube, Spotify, all those things, if it's a video first podcast, which I hope that yours will be so it can reach the maximum number of people.
Exactly. So that brings up a question actually I have for you.
Mm-hmm.
Thumbnail. So because we don't have video, it's normally the picture that we put for the podcast.
Right.
So I had a question that I was thinking in my mind. Is there a reason people do the, cropping image? You can tell it's like almost fake thumbnail instead of just a regular image. Is there a reason for that? Does it grab more attention? What does it help with?
So what you want on a thumbnail is you want minimal. You don't want to have dragons and butterflies and sun rays and just a whole mix mash of things going on where your eyes just going, what am I looking at? And it becomes nothing. On a YouTube thumbnail, especially for podcasts, you kind of want, and I mean, this is art, so it is subjective, but you kind of want to have clear faces because people identify with faces. So you want to be able to see someone's eyes in particular, because eyes are the window to the soul. So you want to see someone's eyes. You want to see an expression on their face as if they're interacting with something interesting. So if on this podcast, I'm going to clip it up, you're going to smile at some point or go at some point, and I'm going to grab that nugget of emotion because people want to connect with that nugget of emotion. And then whatever we choose to title this podcast, that emotion needs to match the title of the podcast. So I'm going to have your face, my face, because that's what this episode is about. That's what a thumbnail is. You want to show a little bitty snippet of what's to come. Because here's the thing, if I show Disneyland and you and I on a roller coaster, that has nothing to do with what we're talking about right now. And that would be like clickbait or a misrepresentation. And whenever I clicked on this video and it's you and I sit across from each other in a couple of chairs in this old church, you'd be like, this isn't what I signed up for. This isn't what I clicked on the thing for. Immediate trust break. So you want to continue to build trust. Faces usually. Background doesn't matter. You can experiment with that. Minimal. I'm playing with AI right now to try and use AI backgrounds for the thumbnails that I'm creating about the conversations that we're having. And that's had some luck. Some of it I have left the regular background in. You're talking about a screenshot, but the more there is something to, the more quality that you can make the thumbnail to where it obeys the rules of a photograph, which means like rules of thirds. People's faces line up on the right side. We're looking towards one another. We're not looking away from one another. Your face, let's just say if this were a box, your face isn't looking towards the outside of the box because that makes everybody paranoid. There's certain things that if it looks like a good artistic picture that you would be interested in clicking on normally on YouTube, that means you've hit a good thumbnail. Even myself, nobody spends enough time on a thumbnail. And I probably make 7 to 10 iterations of every podcast that I make. Like when I go into the Photoshop with ours, I'll make 7 different variations between our faces and the titling, the little snippet that I have at the bottom that will pique somebody's interest.
Whoa.
Does that answer your question? It's a lot of words.
Yeah.
Does that answer it? Yeah, 7 to 10.
Okay. What do you build them in?
I build them in Photoshop. You don't have to have Photoshop, but you do have to obey those kind of laws. So like for years before I get into the higher production stuff, I made vlogs, right? And I would just take, I can't remember what I used. I would take a screenshot of one element of the vlog and kind of emboss my face, pull it out from the background a little bit, make the rest of it like, it's called a Gaussian blur. I put a Gaussian blur on the background, make it just a little bit blurry from the rest of it. That's what I did for years and years and years and years and years. Didn't get a whole lot of clicks, but that's what I did for years and years and years. So you don't have to have, the highest quality thumbnail, but if you want people to click on it, you want it to look nice. You want it to be appealing. You want it to be interesting. Hard to do for podcasts, so I can't wait to see what you guys come up with.
Oh man, dude, we're going to have to put our thinking caps on. Me and him are not editing people. So making a thumbnail is going to be interesting for us.
You could take it in a totally different direction. So most podcasts are the faces and the eyes and the expressions and that sort of thing, and maybe like minimal text, very minimal, 3 words or less, minimal text on the thumbnail. But I mean, you could go a totally different direction, and you could embrace, like, say y'all talked about Disneyland. Now this is going to have to be a thing. Now it's going to be you and me on a Disneyland cart kind of a thing on my thumbnail. But you could embrace it where it's not necessarily, it needs to have faces, not necessarily you two sitting down in front of a blank background or something. It's what you guys talked about, because that's technically inside of the podcast.
Okay. Makes sense.
Dude, it goes on from there. It goes on from there. Whatever you put in your thumbnail, you need to show it. This is some 404 stuff. You need to show it within, or talk about it within the first 30 seconds of your video, so that people know that why they clicked on your thumbnail with that title is going to be talked about inside of that video, because that's why they stopped. So if you click on it, we start talking about rainbows and puppies and not roller coasters or, whatever we advertised it for, not thumbnails, not starting a podcast, they're gone.
Okay.
There's a whole lot of psychology. There's a whole lot of psychology to video stuff. That's where I geek out. So if I'm going too deep.
No, this is great. That brings up a question I have now. So we do a guitar intro.
Okay.
Little guitar picking.
Did you make it?
And then, no, we had a buddy named Bryce Halleck make it.
Okay.
But we had him on the podcast. And then he made us a little
excellent
acoustic guitar. And then we start talking.
In my way, because I'd like him to make me a little intro.
Okay, we'll do. So the question is, would you start talking straight off the bat, then do the intro, then keep talking? Or is the intro okay? Because when they click on it, it's just going to do a guitar intro. Is that okay?
So the beautiful thing about this is, I mean, it's art. People can hang around for a minute or two, but I've actually tried this on multiple podcasts because I don't just kind of, I don't want to say control, but I don't just do this podcast. I've got a couple other podcasts that I've got my hand in, and we're trying out different methods. And I will tell you the norm. Here's the standard rule. You have 3 seconds to garner people's attention. And if you have them for 3, you get 8. And if you have them for 8, you get 30. If you keep them for 30, you can pretty much have them for the rest of the video. Well, 130 for sure. If you have them for 130, you have them for the rest of the video. Most people do not. So you'll look at something in the back end of your YouTube videos, and it's called, for YouTube, it's YouTube Analytics. And it'll say your overall watch time is 1:35. Your overall watch time is 10 minutes. Well, that is an average. So you have an hour-long video. That means some people watched the entirety of that video, and some people popped on for 10 seconds, and you get the average of what that is. So you had 100 people pop on for 10 seconds and go, this isn't what I signed up for, and pop off. And you had 100 people pop on and go, this is exactly what I want. It's an hour long. So your average is going to be somewhere there in the middle. And you want to stretch that out, because the higher your watch time, the more these platforms will share your podcast.
Okay.
So you get more shots at it. So what I want to say is that first 30 seconds is the most important 30 seconds of the entire video. The first minute and a half means that they will watch your video. If you did it well and they're still having fun at a minute 30. If they're looking to get off, they'll get off. But at a minute 30, if they've enjoyed themselves, they will watch the rest of your video. If they can, barring, kids coming in or whatever, bell going off in school or something, they will watch the rest of your video.
3 seconds. Okay.
3 seconds buys you 8, 8 buys you 30, 30 buys you a minute and a half buys you the video. So you want to jam pack all the information, all the hooks, all the things that you're going to talk about, all the surprise moments. You can either do like what happens in the video, or you can do highlights, or you can do, you can just start with a hook. Some people with strong, like say a Bible study, you'll say, this is why you need to know about Jesus, or this is why we're diving into 1 John, because in 1 John, boom. And you lay it out for them, and they go, this is why I'm here. And they will watch 15 minutes of your video, of your podcast, and go, that was incredible. I'll watch another one. And then the next one, whenever they sign on, in the first 8 seconds, you go, this is why you're here. And then you deliver on it.
Very cool. Okay.
It's a dance, though, when you're doing a podcast, because there's a partnership involved, and like you're trying to, you can get it in editing. You can dial it down, but sometimes maybe in your podcast, you won't get to that quick enough time. So you have to, that's why a lot of my videos have that first minute and a half are the recaps of, this is where, this is where Gabriel was saying this, and this.
I've noticed that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Very cool. Ours just starts out intro.
Yep.
And we start talking.
Yep.
And then it just goes from there.
Yep.
So
if you have not hooked your audience before you roll that intro, they may not stay through the intro. That's what we're learning on some of the other podcasts that we've got. They've got a long intro. It's a good intro. They put a lot of work and a lot of energy into this intro. It's good. It tells all the facts of like why you should stay there long term on their channel. But it takes so long sometimes, and they don't deliver enough up front, that the people won't stay. So we're getting a lot of loss on it. So we got to figure out new ways to keep them for 3, to keep them for 8, to keep them for 30, to keep them for a minute 30.
Okay. So in the little best recap you do at the beginning, do you edit that yourself?
Yeah.
Okay. What do you edit it on?
Okay. So there are 3 major editing platforms, and I'll try not to geek out too much on this, but you're already on one. You have DaVinci Resolve. That is the new hip kid on the block. She's actually the old hip kid on the block. She's been around for a long time. She's always been a free software, but she gets along really well with like Blackmagic and oh gosh, there were some high-end cameras there, and I can't think of them right now off the top of my head, but they were all the rage. Helium, Dragon, oh goodness. Camera geeks out there are hating me for this, but anyway, they do all like the free software, open source software. And so it's been a free thing. People have been on it for a while. But if you want to do like color grading, and if you're into video for the long haul, go with DaVinci Resolve. If you are a Mac person and you are Apple through and through, and you only, you want to pay a one-time fee and get on to Final Cut. I think it's Final Cut for one-time fee. You want to get on to Final Cut and you want to keep inside of the ecosystem, you're good to go. Then you're going to want to do Final Cut. I don't have a whole lot of experience with Final Cut, but I know a lot of people who edit with it and absolutely love it. My editing software of choice is Adobe Premiere. Adobe Premiere Pro. It costs, here's the negatives. The negatives are, it's a little bit older software. It always has a little bit buggy. It's always like fighting through updates and stuff. But it used to be the industry standard. So any commercials that you see, any major movies, they're usually done on either DaVinci Resolve or Adobe Premiere Pro. Those are the heavy hitters. It's going to also have many bolt-ons. So it's got Adobe After Effects. So if you want to add all the cool explosions and videos and that sort of thing, Adobe Premiere Pro. If you're looking for podcasts, though, which is what we're talking about, if you're making a podcast and you have the extra funds to spend, you can get away with a student version of Adobe. You would probably want to get Adobe because Adobe can bolt on something called AutoPod. I don't know how much it costs. If it's not free, it's not very expensive. But the base level of Adobe is like $20 for a student, $15 for a student, something like that. I think for everybody else, it's like $35 to $50, depending on what you get, because there's a whole bunch of things that it offers with it. Photoshop for thumbnails, Lightroom for editing regular photos. It just comes with a whole bunch of stuff. So it's like a suite of packages. But you can bolt on AutoPod. And AutoPod is the AI software that whenever you export, once you line up the video and the audio and it's all dropped into your timeline, it will go through in 45 seconds and edit what we talk about in an hour. And it does a really good job changing camera angles, making sure the audio matches to each one. That is a life changer. That, and then you bolt on something because it's able to do all these plugins. You bolt on this thing called Firecut, maybe. Firecut. It does like subtitles. So if you'll notice in the beginning of my podcast or any like shorts that I clip off afterwards, they'll have the words that come up over top. Those are AI generated with, once you pick your theme, it lays it across your whole video and you can just go in there and pick those out of there. Or it'll auto-populate. It'll pick major themes in your video and send them and compact them into shorts. That way you just go, I'll have this, and this shorts. And then you have 10 shorts from your full-length podcast.
So about that, I've looked into that. Me and Caleb have both looked into it. We've seen Opus Clip. And then we saw another one that he used. I can't remember what it was called. We saw two. Which one do you use for the...
I use Opus Clip.
You use Opus Clip?
I use Opus Clip, and I apologize for not knowing the name offhand, but like Firecut or something like that.
Okay.
It's another variation of one of those. I've tried quite a few. Opus Clip is, for me, it gets the most... there's a lot of AI editing short clip editors out there, but this one does the best job about getting the general idea. So it'll allow it to play through, because a lot of times they'll just say, it'll cut like say 4 minutes to 6 minutes in your video and say, that's a short. Well, Opus says, yeah, but they were talking about Disneyland here. They were talking about Disneyland 16 minutes later, and they were talking about Disneyland at 30 minutes. I'm going to make all of those into one clip, and it does a pretty good job of tracking different thoughts like throughout the course of it.
Very cool.
Yeah.
I didn't know it did that.
Yeah.
Very cool. Opus Clip. And about the video now, because I tried this, but a short without video isn't good, right? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So
you guys tried to make a short out of how? Without a video?
Well, just testing, you can throw in because DaVinci, it defines it as a video because it's an image that just plays for a long time with audio. and it would make you a clip. Does that make sense?
Okay. Yeah.
So I threw it in there to see how it works, testing stuff, and it'll make you one, but they're obviously not good with any video in the background. It's just an audio short. So it's not good. So that brings me to a question.
Okay.
Video, how would you do it? Because obviously I don't have the money for like these expensive cameras.
$multi-thousand on.
Exactly.
Okay.
So, because I'm about to go to college and I need all the money.
Sure. Poor college.
So,
Go ahead.
I'm trying to like use a phone, or I'm looking at maybe some cheap like
Absolutely.
webcams. Because when I go off to college, we'll get into this later. You talked about zooming in on podcasts.
Yep.
We're looking at how we're going to do that because I'm moving to Missouri.
Mm-hmm.
So, video, what would be your first suggestion on how I get started in that?
Cell phone.
Cell phone?
You're gonna hate it.
Okay.
But it's a cell phone. It's something that everybody out there knows, and they know that the person's gonna say it's the cell phone. Get started with the cell phone. Reluctantly, I have to agree. Get started with the cell phone. The thing I hate, the reason I say I hate it, is because I filmed for a long time on a cell phone. Maybe the first 150 videos on my YouTube channel are filmed on a cell phone. And it is a nightmare because a cell phone is designed to do a bunch of different things. And whenever you try and set it up to do one thing, it's still trying to do a bunch of different things. And so it's constantly being interrupted. Like you may get a phone call and you get text messages and you never want to, like, at least I don't. I never can silence all of the things because there's always some bypass that my phone has or that my wife's put on the thing that like she can call. I don't know how she's done it, but she's got it to where it bypasses all of my silence things. I'll be in the worst spots. And like, we'll turn our phones off for this podcast and she'll get through because she's figured out how to bypass it in my phone. Anyway, that's beside the point. Cell phone is where I would say to start. Cell phone gets you a good, like what you have. Those wireless labs right now, those are fantastic. Those wireless mics that just clip on underneath your shirt, that's great. Or you could do a system like this if you don't want to hold it. Like you could still get, these are silly cheap on Amazon. Somebody was making fun of them the other day because these are like Amazon mic stand type things. I don't remember who it was. Maybe it was Skylar. Anyway, and then you can get like, there's a little adapter that holds those clip-on deals, and that way you don't have to wear it on your shirt. But I don't know. That's all about the aesthetics of your podcast. If y'all don't mind, because you're of a different generation, if you can hold them, or y'all can clip them on your shirt. If you don't mind people seeing them, then those things are golden. So with a cell phone, a singular cell phone with the rear camera, not the self-facing camera, with the rear camera, hit it to run, let it start right there. And then in your editing software, cut off that front part. That runs too long. If you film it, these days there's a setting called 4K. Okay? You want to film in 4K so that you can punch in on things. So in your post-production, if you have filmed, say, with these cameras, they're very nice. Maybe I can even remember to go in and post, and I can zoom in on my face or zoom out. Or if I make a certain point, I'm going to do my hand like this. I'm going to point. You can't see it right now, but right now the audience is seeing that I am punching in and out on my face because I am filming in 4K and I have the flexibility. 4K means 4 times 1080p resolution. So you don't lose resolution as you punch in up to 4 times. So you potentially have 4 quadrants of your screen that you can tap into if you're recording in 4K. The downside, of course, is it is a nightmare for storage. You're going to burn through on your cell phone. So that's recommendation number 1. Recommendation number 2, if you got a cheap GoPro, those work in a pinch. Also, there's a thing called Osmo Mobiles. Can't remember the name of it, but I've used those for a while. They're the bane of my existence. You get what you pay for. Any cheap DSLR is probably like a couple $100 these days. Webcam is on the lowest rung of my list unless things have changed in the last 6 months. Just because you can get a better shot, better bang for your buck by using a cell phone. Because your cell phone, either the audio goes directly to it or you can sync it up in post, and a webcam it's the same thing. It's just awkward. There's so many attachments these days for a cell phone that you can just clip up on a stand or something. But I would say tripod, iPhone, lav mics, you're ready to go. If it's a
Sweet.
2-person setup. If you're filming and you're doing Zoom stuff, to your point later on, make sure that you have Zoom set up to host your iPhone and use your iPhone instead of a webcam. That way you have...
How do you do that?
That's it. You're going to have to figure that part out.
Okay.
Or phone my wife, because she set it all up for me. But basically, whenever it comes on, you select a function that says iPhone, and you're ready to go. As quick as you can, I would get to a dedicated DSLR camera so that you don't have to worry about going back and forth. And hold on, Mom, like I'm doing something. We're filming right now.
Yeah.
And just set it, forget it.
Yeah, funny story. We tried to record one on my phone. Worked great. Well, great. I had a window open. The lighting was really bad. But the next one, I was like, oh, we'll do it better this time. So I recorded it. And I got it up, and my phone was out of storage and cut the video. And I was like, no. So I didn't do it. I was like, okay. So I went through. I deleted a bunch of stuff, set it back up, recorded the next one. And I don't know if you know this, Apple phones, if you set them up charging and they're sideways, and it's nighttime past a certain time in the evening, they'll turn into an alarm clock. Did you know that?
I did not know that.
So my phone, it went past 8 p.m. or something, and it turned into an alarm clock.
Night.
And cut my video off while it's recording. And then the third time, my phone somehow overheated while recording. So 3 times in a row, it failed on me in different ways. So that's why I had the questions. But here's the question. If I'm going to use my phone, delete a bunch of storage, I got a hard drive that goes from a Lightning to USB.
Yes.
So I can transfer it through the hard drive.
Yes.
Can me and Caleb set up both phones to record kind of like this system of 2 sides, and then plug it into Premiere Pro?
Yes.
And it will do the bounce back through phones?
Yes.
Sweet.
They need to be set on if you're going to do multi-cam sequences. So a multi-cam recording, which is what we have right now. You have a camera, I have a camera. You will record them in the same frame rate. You want them shot if they're on the same options. So if they're in 4K, it's in 4K. If it's 24 or 23.976 frames per second, or 24 frames per second, or 30 frames per second, 30, 24, 25, whatever your camera says that it's on, you want it the same for both cameras. And then, for bonus points, so I don't have to look at it whenever I finally see your podcast, just make sure that if there's a white balance option, it's set. I think that'll take care of it.
Okay, white balance option.
Yeah, because when you get into cameras, they have a way of white balancing, but I don't want to get into that. I don't want to get into that level with cell phones. If you were doing cameras, I would say for anybody who's wanting to use a camera out there, that you want to make sure your white balances are set the same on the camera, so that way if you've got puke like orange on one, you're shooting it like a crazy low levels, like 3200 Kelvin, and the other one's like auto white balance and it's super bright blue, and we have to bounce back and forth between the two, and like you're Oompa Loompa and I'm on the moon or something. That is hard to watch. It's weird as a video person, but that's my own pet peeve. We don't have to go there. That's way too deep of a dive.
No, it makes sense. The coloring.
Yeah.
So just an easy, simple question. If I'm recording in a room, I record in a separate room in our house. Is it better, because I had a window open and all the lighting coming in makes it blurrier and start to like wash out the coloring.
Okay.
It's too bright.
Okay.
Is it better to be on the dimmer side or the brighter side? Well,
this is something that you're going to have to develop as you film more and more and more. There are going to be things, so like on my cameras, the more expensive cameras, they give you, there's a thing called false color, and you can click on it and it'll show different colors on your face and your hat as to how the light hits it differently. Or there's things called zebras, and like it's called overexpose. If the light is too bright on your face and it washes this out and all people can see is white right here, then it'll show zebras on your face. Well, on your cell phone, you can, with an app like Filmic Pro or Blackmagic, those can put those types of options the false color, the zebras, the exposure calibrations on your cell phone. Those apps can put it there. But if you're just using your regular cell phone, here's a general rule of thumb. You'll want to lock off your exposure and let your cell phone kind of figure that out and adjust the room or the window's lighting, like how the distance that you are to the light, farther, closer or farther away. So for instance, like for my face, I have it set up and I'm going to point it towards this camera right here. You can use your palm. And if your palm is way too bright on the camera, that means you're way too close to the light source. So I don't know how far out of frame this goes, but the higher my hand goes towards this light source, the brighter that it's going to be for the camera, and it's going to become like almost like a white. You want it to where you can make out the details in your hand, where there's still shadow, there's lines in there, and if you can make out that shadow, then you're close to the appropriate exposure. There's other ways of doing it, but that's a quick one. If you're talking about sitting in front of a window, or you've got some lights that you're getting in front of, you want to film it that way. Now, here's the trick. I'm going to throw in some 202 stuff, just in case anybody's like, I know how to sit in front of a window and film myself. Your cell phone is insanely good at figuring out a balance there. If you're totally washed out, that means you're too close to the window. There's too much wash on you. You need to get a little bit further away, or better, diffuse it. We'll talk about that in just a second. But what you want to do is you want to be filming into the shadow side of your face. So as you're looking at me, you'll notice that shadow is more on this side of my face than this side of my face. Now I have a hat on, so I've got a shadow coming down, but I should have it over here. You, as I'm looking at you, you have it on my right side, closest side to the camera. That's on purpose because there's more interest. There's more dynamic. This is way too much for a podcast, but that's what causes interest in the face. That's what these minute details that don't matter to anybody else but us, they hold people's attention. They're the subconscious things that make people go, that's interesting. That's pretty. I like to look at that. That's why. But to your point, to get into like out of the granular level, if you have a light source like a window or a light, see we have 2 lights hanging over here, 2 dome lights. The things that are hanging down off of these dome lights are that dome piece. That's called diffusion, and you want to get as close as you can to those big light sources without being blown out. And so by blown out, I mean overexposed, too much light hitting you. And you can do that. You can get closer to it by putting like a shower curtain, or like what these wraps have on these like muslin, these fabric, like a silk or something that will cause this harsh light to hit these materials and diffuse and like make it soft, because you want a soft light to hit you. We have a little bit of harsh light hitting our microphones right now, and that's on purpose, and the backside of our hats, and that is a harsh light that kind of makes the outline. It separates us from the backgrounds that are next to us. It's a lot, but this is a full-scale 3-point lighting setup. We have, in my background right over here, there's a blue light. Yours, I'll probably tap into your screen right here. Yours is over here somewhere. You have a blue light behind you. Those are called nanlight tube lights. Those are accent lights. We have the stained glass windows. Those are like practical lights. You can go as far as you want to down this road, but I'm here to tell you, audio is king. Well, content is king. Audio's number 2. The camera and the cell phone and everything, that's way down the list. Lighting, for when you get into video, when you start introducing video, lighting is absolutely everything. You can have a garbage camera if you have great lighting.
Okay. Wow.
Because it all becomes about like shaping the light. Like you can make your podcast look like anything. We can turn on, if you'll notice all these lights are off, we can turn on the lights in here and this whole thing becomes a totally different feel. Like this will be less intimate, less moody, less connected, and it'll become more sterile. A lot of psychology in it.
Wow.
Yeah.
Very cool. So why are they blue? Is there a reason they're blue?
Oh, I like blue.
Okay, so it's just a preference.
I like blue. I didn't really. It felt weird to splash red up on some church walls, so I was like, nah, it's not red. It's not really. I don't know. I like orange, but orange kind of looked weird in here. It was already too much orange going on, and towards the end of the day, Like even when we're talking, the light's changing outside, so it's changing some of the colors that are coming through the stained glass, and it's a real warm color. So the walls get splashed with like warm color. So I thought, well, the opposite of orange, the warms are the cools of blue, and so that's why you have blues up on the wall. There's a lot that nobody's thinking about. That's why we like this is not an overly impressive room that we're sitting in. I love this. Don't get me wrong. I love this church. This church is amazing. I love this room. I love the aesthetics of it for what it is. But for like a podcast, that's why like I'm embracing the spiritual side, which is why you see the stained glass, because it reminds people of church. And then like this blue is surely a taste thing. But there's pews still in it because I do want to embrace the church feel. But everything has a purpose, if you will, a psychological purpose. And you can, when you know the rules, you can kind of build them into your podcast to help shape the narrative. But they're all backups to the content of knowing your audience and that sort of thing. So that, hopefully, does that answer your question on lighting?
That does.
Okay.
Very thought out. So it's all planned. It's all the reason.
Yes. If you had, I was teasing Pastor Ed. I had him on a podcast a while ago. Like, if you had $5 or something like that, what would you put? I'd put like nearly all my money in lighting. I would. It'd be like $4 of the $5 would be in lighting if I were you. I mean, you have to have audio and you have to have something to film it with. I mean, just make sure it's clean audio. But after that, I mean, it's a podcast, so it has to have some sort of very good audio because people expect that now, because that's how we connect with people. We like to hear their voice, and we have them in our ears all the time, so they're constantly. Anyway, but I would throw all of my money down on lighting. So if you multiplied that out, if you had $500, I would spend $100 on a camera. I'd spend $100 on some mics, and I would spend $300 on figuring out how to. It doesn't have to be these lights, but I just spend a couple $100 on diffusion and some practicals.
Wow. Okay. So a lot of good information.
Yeah, man.
Got a lot to work on.
Got a lot to work on.
Got a lot to improve. I'm excited to get it rolling on the video side.
Yeah.
But this is going to help me a lot because it's scary to jump into something where you don't know where to start. You know what I mean?
Well, the beauty is you guys are already started. The hard part's over. I mean, now you're just tweaking the machine as you run down the road. You know what you want to make. You've got fairly dialed in who you're talking to. As long as you keep talking to that person, you keep providing answers and solutions for them, you keep loving on them, you interact with them in your comments, you tweak your conversations. If they have questions, they say, I want to hear more about this, then like you deliver on that. You go find an expert. Or for my podcast, if somebody says, I want to know more about such and such, dump trailers. I'm just making something up because I love dump trailers. I want to know more about dump trailers. I'm going to go find an expert in dump trailers and be like, yeah, come on in here and tell us about your dump trailer business and all about Jesus and how he's guiding you through the process. That's going to answer needs. If you keep doing that, the rest of this stuff, not that it doesn't matter. It does matter. It's part of like honing your skills. And that's the fun, creative part of making a podcast. But the podcast will reach who it needs to reach. The algorithm is insanely good these days at intent. How do you say this? It used to be about like how many likes, how many share, that sort of thing. Like, did we get it out there? But the algorithm can find what you're into better than you even know how to find what you're into, because you're slowing down on things and it's logging it. If you're in milliseconds, it knows exactly what you slowed up on, and that it might serve that back to you later on in your feed because you slowed up a little bit. There was something that snagged your attention. It's going to keep on honing it. It knows what you're into.
Wow.
So if you can find out what that person's into and solve those problems, speak to those issues, you'll get in front of them.
Sweet. Well, that's the goal.
That's the goal.
That's the goal.
So, dude, do you have more questions? Because I kind of want to get into your story here in a minute.
I'm cool with that, yeah.
You cool with that?
I think that answered most of them because most of it's video side. And then we also talked about, for people that didn't hear, we talked about before we started, the Adobe Enhanced Speech.
Oh, okay.
Cut out background.
Yes. So I think you'd asked a question about like clean audio, or you were saying that y'all want to prioritize clean audio, and you're doing a podcast, so absolutely you should. we have in the background and a fan, an air conditioner that's going. It's pretty rattly. We can hear it right now. I doubt the audience can. I can take off the enhanced speech option if I can remember to do that. Right now, this would be me prompting myself to take off the enhanced speech so that you can hear kind of the noise of the room. Well, once you run it through enhanced speech, that will dissipate. Also, our enhanced speech takes a podcast voice. It makes it, enhances it. It makes it more full. For men, it makes it a little deeper. For women, it gives it a little bit more ting, a little bit more ring to it. It's a pretty powerful tool, and it's free. You can dial it up and dial it down as to how much background noise you want to add back into it, how much you want to take away. How much of that definition you want to put into your podcast, because maybe you like your voice does change just a smidge as the AI kind of enhances it a little bit, and maybe you don't like that as much, so you can dial that back to a more reasonable level, but still cleaning out the rattle of the AC. That is like a non-negotiable. That one's free. It's an Adobe AI enhancer. You just have to have like a Google account.
Sweet.
Speech enhancer.
That for sure.
Oh, that's a non-negotiable. On a podcast, you have to have that. Like that's necessary.
Sweet. Because I've had like dog barking in the background or different things. So
you'll have people. So like some people, maybe like I have like sniffles or something, and you'll have people on your podcast who maybe you do one day. You have sniffles going on. Well, AI, that audio speech enhancer, will take out your every time.
Really?
Yeah. Because there's certain moments where like your camera will jump, because in the editing software it'll notice that you itch, so it'll reset to you. Well, once you run it through the audio speech enhancer, you'll go over and it'll be like nothing happened. It's very helpful tool.
Wow, dude, that's crazy.
Yep, that's a must-have, my friend.
Okay, I'm gonna use that. The free is the best part, right?
The free, yeah, right, right. For the broke college people, this is where it's at. So I'm gonna get into your story for sure, but I also want to say that you can most definitely, since you are going to be a broke college kid. Well, hopefully, I'm not saying that over you. Maybe you're a wealthy college kid, because you can. When you answer people's pain points and you care about your audience and you're researching solutions to those pain points and you're serving them well, then people show up. And when people show up, brands, your own opportunities to further solve their solutions, solve their problems. You have solutions to their problems, can be bolted on the back end of your podcast. What I mean is, like, you could offer continued Bible studies for, like old archive stuff that maybe you guys have torn through in the past and like really put some work into. And you could offer those for like, I don't know, like a $3 or something like that if they want to sign up, or they could just support your page for, like you could do like a Patreon, or you could do a school account where you could host a community. You could open up a Facebook group community where you guys supported one another, and maybe there was an entrance fee to that of like, since you're a college kid, you pay $3 for entrance into this. I don't know. That's for you to do, but there are a million different ways to monetize on the back ends of some of these podcasts, because people have spent so much time with you that they, again, trust you, that you care for them. You've put your heart and soul into figuring out what their questions and concerns are, and you're trying to solve it for them. And you have other things that help them solve that problem, or like you have tools that you use that would potentially be beneficial to them. That's where you find some, like, if you have trusted, I'll use YouTubers out there because they're the ones I can at least narrow down. They'll have like a product or tool that they're using, and they'll say, hey, I believe in this kind of a thing. And you go, you've never thought about that thing. You never wanted that thing. But now all of a sudden you saw them use that thing. You're like, well, they've been right about a bunch of other stuff, and maybe that will help. And it does, because they're similar enough. You trust them enough that it is beneficial to your world. Dude, we have a shared friend, or at least potential friend, in Isaac. Oh man, he went on. We just did a podcast. Jake launched his podcast. I shouldn't say launched it, but he filmed his podcast up in Alaska. And Isaac did this exact thing. He leveraged when we were up there filming, in the great beyond, man, last frontier of Alaska, like giant mountains and streams and waterfalls and rivers and ocean and whales and bears. It was just incredible stuff. And we're trying to film a podcast and all this. Isaac is flying all of the drone footage, so he's doing every bit of the drone work out there. And I thought, well, let's take a couple pictures of him because I know he's going to try and do a business on the back end of that. Well, little did I know, Home Skillet was up there like. He built out this whole proposal for like REI and a couple other brands that like outdoor brands that he wants to work with because he's got some more trips that are coming up. And he was like, send me those pictures, send me the drone footage, or I've got the drone footage, but let me get some more of y'all's drone footage. Let me get some of the podcasts. Let me get some of the because some other. So Jake went up there with some sponsorships from some outdoor brands and other people, and we took pictures. Like we had some product photography while we're up there. It's like, send me some of that and I will send it on to these businesses and say, if you will send me gear or monetary compensation, I would love to put this into the podcast or whatever it is that he's going to film, a product for you guys that's similar for you guys. And so he's shopping that out to a bunch of different brands for them to say, yeah, we love what you do. And the stuff that we got up there in Alaska, it's not going to be hard for them to go, yeah. I mean, it's right in line. He found a zone, outdoor fitters, outdoor apparel and gear. And so he's like, that's what he used up there. That's what he's going to be targeting. That's probably where he's going to stay. He loves to fish. They're going to go canoeing down some river. And they may have the thing paid for and equipped by the time they hit the river here in a couple weeks. Him and Jarrod or whoever it is that's going up there. That's how that works. That's how you leverage the last deal. So monetizing an audience there.
Yeah, I don't know anything about that either. So me and him jumped in with, ain't none of that behind it. So you just reach out.
Just reach out. Well, you have to have done something, like put in some work on like your podcast and take a couple pictures, grab a couple screenshots. Reach out to something that's in the same line, like Logos or however you want to pronounce it, like a digital software or something, or a Bible company, or a prayer app, or anything like that, and see if they might want to sponsor you or partner with you. Let them know the people who tune in. Let them know your target audience. Let them know your hopes and dreams. Let them know your age, your demographic. Let them know, kind of where you hope to be. Let them see the quality of the work, the passion of your heart, and then just reach out and ask them. Worst they could say is no. And the best they could do is give you money or products that you believe in and that could help your target audience. That's that thing that I was talking about my wife, how she can bypass all the... I love her. Let me make sure this isn't Mondo important. She knows I'm in here filming with you, so pause.
Okay.
Yeah, baby. Hi. Filming a podcast. What's she doing? Yes. Gabriel. What are we... No, we're filming a podcast, baby. He's asking questions. I'm firing. We're doing this. It's good stuff. I am having a great time. I was just telling him a couple minutes ago that, like, the reason I wouldn't use a cell phone is because my wife's figured out how to bypass all the silence notifications. And here you are. Yeah. It's because it's all love. Yes, baby. I've only got him for a few more minutes, so I'm gonna crank on this, okay? All right, love you, bye. She's like, what were you doing? I thought you were just going to go hang out. I'm like, yeah, whatever. We're doing a thing. Okay, dude, I only got you for a couple more minutes, right? You got to be out of here. You got to be on the road at 4:30.
It'll be okay if I'm not.
Well, we'll
I'm just meeting with like Caleb and stuff.
So. We'll push, man. I don't want to.
And Jarrod.
And Jarrod?
Talking about.
Dude, I hope he has it all cranking by the time this is going. Where were we?
We were talking about sponsors.
So hopefully, it's totally doable because that would, honestly, I love that for you. Like if y'all did a podcast and it made a little bit of money for broke college kids to get them through in the meantime, till you guys figure out what you want to do with your world. And
yep.
That's kind of the goal. I know. So here's the thing. I know there's money in it, but I have to always be careful about, like it is not about the money if you don't care about the thing that you're making, the content that you're making, and the resources that you're providing to your audience through content, then it doesn't work. So I think you're going to be okay with delivering the word and helping them in that way. But the whole like figuring out how to monetize it is very much a doable thing, and it's only limited by your imagination.
Sweet.
It's a cool deal.
That's encouraging.
Yeah.
Very cool.
So many ways to do it. There's so many ways to skin that cat.
Okay.
You're going to see it everywhere. Like once you see it, you're going to be like, oh, they're doing it all the time. You can run mid-roll. It's called mid-roll, but like you can make your own ad for your own video. Like we're at a podcast. A lot of podcasts do this where they'll say, hey, they'll cut away to something and they'll be like, have you ever struggled with such and such and such and so and so? Well, I developed this course, or I found this product, or I did this thing, and I want to offer it to you guys, to my audience, for a discount, or for, just because I love you, or whatever. And then they'll cut back into the action. That's their own personal promo. That's their own personal ad that they didn't have to pay any money for, that runs nonstop for whoever comes across and sees that thing, constantly shopping for them. And it's another potential way to monetize so many ways. That's the stuff that I get excited about. There's so many ways to do that. But I mean, you do need an audience, and that's where you start getting the brands that reach out and stuff, But that's putting in the work and identifying what they need, who it is, what they need, what they think about, what they have for breakfast, what they want to have, how they articulate things. So tell me about your story. We got your podcast. You're starting this thing, maybe, or you've already started a podcast. You're starting the video portion of the podcast. You're moving now. You're going to go into college, out of state, crazy pants. But it wouldn't be your first time to travel. You've come from traveling. Traveling's in the blood, man. So let's dive into the Jesus portion of this whole thing. Now we've got all the tech out of the way, but so where do you come from? Tell me your story. Tell me I just want to get into. Tell me about China.
Okay. So when I was a kid, my parents came back. They had lived in China before I was born.
Okay.
So they were in China for, I want to say, around 13 years. I think with the organization even longer.
So your parents lived in China for 13 or 14 years as missionaries or as...
Yeah, as missionaries. So
doing what?
It started off, my dad got a degree in hydrology.
Okay.
And crazy story. It's actually funny. They were praying about it and felt like they wanted to be missionaries. And my grandma was like, just not China.
Just anywhere but China.
Please don't send them to China.
That's Jesus' favorite prayer right there. Anywhere but, anybody but.
Exactly. And so my dad got a call about this dude called and he was like, hey, would you want to come help us build a school in China? Because he has a hydrology degree and he does a lot of construction work. He's an engineer now. So he's very much so on the construction side. And they're like, would you like to come help us build the school? So that's why I opened the doors and they went to China. And then we lived there. They lived there for a long time. Multiple different cities along the way. They moved back to America for a season to have my brother. And then they had me. And then we went back. And so from a couple months old, we had moved back. I was a couple months old. And we lived there for 3 years.
Your parents came back here just to have you?
To have me and my brother, yeah.
Have you and your brother. And then they moved back to China. And you moved to China at what age? The baby?
I don't know exactly.
Months or years?
Months. I don't think I was even a year old yet.
And how long did you stay in China?
So we stayed there for a couple years, 3 years. I moved back. My dad went to Evangel in Springfield, Missouri. Got a master's and went to some more college. And then we ended up moving back to China.
Your dad went and got some more college?
Yes.
He has a glutton for...
He has multiple degrees. And
your dad, needless to say, so I know your dad is a brilliant man, soft-spoken, brilliant man. You would never know. He doesn't flaunt that he has multiple degrees. You can tell he's smart because he'll smile. You've got to smile. He'll smile sometimes. I know everything that you guys are struggling with, but he doesn't let on that he does. Yeah, he's not an arrogant dude, but anyway, so brilliant guy. He has multiple degrees. Why?
Honestly, you'd have to ask him. I'm not really
I'm not
sure.
gonna have him on.
I'm pretty sure he has a master's in hydrology.
Okay.
And I'm pretty sure he has a degree in psychology as well. So crazy. He was like a counselor, I believe, and through the mission stuff. So yeah, it's crazy.
So he came back y'all came back. You came back when you were 3. He got another degree, and then went back. I take it.
Moved back.
Okay.
And then we moved to a city called Chengdu, and that's where I remember most of it.
So how old are you at this time?
I believe we moved there. I was like 5 or so.
5 or so.
Probably around there.
Are you picking up any of the language, or are you just like, I'm the English-speaking kid?
So I spoke fluent Chinese when I was a kid.
Get out of here.
When I was a kid, we had a granny or a lady that would watch us while my parents were out working, and all she spoke was Chinese.
What was her name?
We called her Wang Ai, which was what we called her. So me and my brother spoke fluent Chinese to her because we had to speak to her. So growing up, we could speak great Chinese. And then my dad likes to tell the story. We came back to the U.S. for a trip or whatever, and we're at my cousin's house here in Stephenville. And in Chinese, he said, "Hey, Gabe, do you want to practice your Chinese a little bit?" And I looked at him, and I went, "No." And he was like, "Okay." So I didn't practice it, and it slowly faded away.
No.
However, I like to get on Duolingo or things and practice, and it can come back quite easily. I'm sure a lot easier than a regular American trying to learn Chinese.
Yeah.
It comes back easily. And I still speak a little bit. My parents will, if they're in public, they want to say something without other people understanding, they'll just sit and say things in Chinese to each other.
So your parents are fluent as well?
Yeah. My dad would say he can't because, like you said, he's
rascal.
humble. But we'll go to Chinese restaurants, and when they walk up, he'll sit and order in Chinese, and they'll be like, "How do you know it so well?"
He plays it off like he doesn't know.
He
that
does.
Rascal.
He does, but he's really good at it.
So, okay, I guess it didn't take you long because Nanny, what would you call her? What was her name?
Wang Ai.
Wang Ai?
What we call her, yeah.
Wang Ai is just speaking Mandarin to you. Are there different dialects to that?
There are. There's multiple. We had a guard in our apartment complex. Everything, unless you get way out in the country, everything's apartments because they're just packed in city. So we had a guard in our apartment complex that spoke some dialect. I can't remember what it's called. I could never understand it. My dad couldn't understand it. And he would sit and talk so quickly. He was instant speaking and it wasn't Mandarin. And so my dad could never understand what he was saying. And so, he loved to talk to my dad. They loved to chat it up. I don't know why he loved my dad, but I guess because he was a foreigner.
Yeah.
Everybody loved the foreigner. So,
what was your experience like? The parts that you can recall? People loved you. Everybody loves the foreigner.
Everybody loves the foreigner. They would walk up and ask to take pictures all the time, especially when you're a little foreigner. Feel your hair. Oh, can I take a picture?
Why?
I don't know. I think.
What do you mean, feel your hair? What is that?
A big reason, I think, is because most of them all have black hair. And so different colored hairs are interesting. So especially with friends that had blonde hair, they just want to feel it. And they want to take selfies. It was like you're a celebrity. So at different points, you'd be we'd say stuff like 5 kwai, which is like money. It's kind of like $5. 5 kwai isn't a lot. It's different amount. But it's kind of like saying, $5 for a selfie.
$5 for a selfie.
So they wanted to take pictures, and everybody.
Did they actually pay you, or were you just goofing around?
Maybe once or twice. Most of the time, no, we didn't care about the money. We were cool with it.
Yeah.
So we'd get a selfie with them, and most of the time, everybody, civilians and friendly people, they loved you. They're the kindest people. I mean, moving back to America, it's where's the love almost? They're so kind. Talk to anybody. The government is a whole different story. The government's awful, right? But the people are really nice. They have squares where people just get together and they do roller skating and dancing, and it's really community centered. Whereas you walk everywhere as well. So they cut off your driving depending on numbers on your license plate.
What?
for 1 day of the week or 2 days of the week. So depending on
Cut off
your
your driving, like you're not allowed to.
so
Or, like,
that car
doesn't start.
that car is not allowed to drive. They have like security cameras, they monitor everything. And you'll get a ticket for driving on a certain day of the week. So like, let's say they say because of your number right here on this digit, you're not allowed to drive on Tuesdays because they have too many cars, too many people. They'll cut you off from driving on Tuesdays. And so walking is like, they also had subways and they had buses and a lot of stuff, but walking is a big part. So here in America, I mean, other than big cities, like I've been to Washington, D.C., they have it like that there. But like in this small town, you don't walk anywhere. You don't walk and see people around. You know what I mean?
Mm.
And so there, it's like you're walking and meeting people all the time. So that was a big
That's
thing.
really cool.
And it's very safe as well. So me and my brother, probably 8 and 10, 7 and 9, growing up there around those ages, my parents started a coffee shop. You have to have, most of the time, you have to have a business or something, a reason to be there.
Right.
Because they don't want you just
Then we
being
just
there to spread the
evangelize
gospel.
people. Yeah.
So they had a coffee shop. And they would allow me and my brother to walk from our apartment complex to the coffee shop without, like, if they're at the coffee shop, we're home alone. They were cool with us walking to the coffee shop without any supervision because that's how safe.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So like an 8 and 10-year-old just cruising,
Cruising.
a mile? How far?
It probably wasn't that far, but I mean, you're weaving through blocks. It was quite a few blocks, but
Like no crime.
no, it was really safe. The worst part was crossing the street because
That was not safe.
that was not safe. I mean, like we've seen,
No 8 and 10-year-olds crossing by themselves.
me and my brother one time were walking to the coffee shop and saw a dude get hit by a truck.
Oh.
And he was okay. The truck like slammed on his brakes, but like, I mean, hit him and knocked him over. So like driving was not safe. I mean, pedestrians crossing everywhere. Car drivers are crazy. That's why they cut off your driving. So that was wild. But crime and people being kind was a huge part. So growing up in that was a huge thing I noticed.
What were what's your biggest takeaway from your time in China?
I think that I've noticed as I've gotten older is wanting to share the gospel in like work environments and stuff. I guess it's because I watched my parents do it growing up a lot. So a lot of things we'd watch them do is they'd get together with deaf people. My mom had a cousin that was deaf, and so she speaks sign language.
Mm-hmm.
So she learned sign language, Chinese sign language, and we'd connect with deaf people or orphans or different things like that. They started, cool story, after the coffee shop opened, they had a lady that would come and read her Bible in the coffee shop. And she'd be reading her Bible, and she started asking if they could stay late with the Bible study. And so every, I think, Tuesday night or one of the nights during the week, we would leave it open just to her and her Bible study. And it became a huge Bible study. And so following my parents around working, we were constantly connecting with people, deaf people, orphans. We'd go to orphanages. I mean, travel out into the country to, middle of nowhere and Tibet and speak to people. And so share the gospel, you kind of learn, and it just gets engraved in your brain, I guess, that you want to just do that. So that's one of my biggest takeaways is how can I just share the gospel like that? Because growing up, you saw it all the time.
Well, so since you were a part of, spreading the good news, spreading the gospel from such an early age, I don't think I've ever asked anybody this on this podcast, but like, when did you meet Jesus? Or was he just always a part of your family? Like,
So it's a great question. Growing up, you would say I went to church, every week. My parents.
You went to church in China or something.
Yeah, they'd call them underground churches, but they're actually up in the air. They're in apartment buildings. You would go to people's missionaries' houses. A bunch of missionaries would choose a house, and they'd all meet there and have church. Or governments would control certain churches, so you'd have like maybe a couple throughout the whole city that they kind of try to keep a hold of. Well, if you're going to go to a church, go to this one. So they don't just allow you to go open a church or whatever, but there are certain churches you can go to connect with people, or underground churches. So you go to people's houses or different things like that, or meet in restaurants or different things. We've done that. But yeah, you go to churches there. I had great parents teaching me all the time. As far as, I would say I've always known who Jesus was, right?
Right.
You always learn. However, there's times in life where you go through rough patches. You go through doubts, you go through problems of, finding yourself and things like that. And so especially, I think for me and my brother, moving back to America after growing up there was like a sucker punch, right? Like we had to readjust. And especially for my brother, I had time to readjust. He jumped like straight into like high school or junior high or something. I had time to adjust and, make friends and stuff. But that would be a shift in learning. And then you really got a foothold after that. Does that make sense?
I think so.
So as far as like getting baptized and stuff, I was baptized in Thailand. So from a young age, we were baptized at a missionary retreat in Thailand. And as far as, I remember a time in Springfield, we lived in Springfield, Missouri, while my dad went to college for that degree after we had moved back from like 3 to 5 or 6 or something. And I do remember a time of like giving my life to the Lord, right? Like, what's this prayer I pray to ask him into my heart? And then 8 or 9 probably, I got baptized in Thailand. And then we moved back. And I'd say you go through a rough patch and then got a foothold and doing great. Trying to learn more every day. So
That's cool, man.
yeah.
What do you so getting ready to transition to a new chapter, new phase. You've been, I assume, I don't know, I haven't kept tabs that close on you, but helping out with youth and whatnot, getting ready to launch into college and everything comes with it. What are your hopes for, like, what's the Lord been speaking into your life? Like, what's on your radar as far as what you know about how he's designed you, what he's getting ready to kind of launch you into? What are you anticipating for this next season of life?
So, biggest things is I'm moving off to College of the Ozarks in Branson, Missouri.
Okay.
It's a Christian college, so they're not Christian, like it's not just evangelistic stuff, but they're based as a Christian college, and they do a bunch of different degrees. And it's also called Hard Work University.
Okay.
So you work while you go to college, and then you graduate.
It's called Hard Work University?
Basically, yeah.
I love it.
So you work 15 hours while you go to school through the semesters,
Okay.
and they pay for your tuition.
Oh.
No tuition cost. And then
Come
you
on.
either have to pay for your room and board, or you can get into summer work programs. You work the whole summer, 40 hours a week, and no room and board. And their goal is to help you graduate debt-free, is their goal. So I'm going up there, Christian college, working hard. The goal is to graduate debt-free. I'd like to meet a lot of new people. And then as far as like what God's calling me to do,
Yeah.
I love animals. Loved animals since I was a kid. It's like, I don't know what it is. God gave it to me. I guess I love animals. So either I'm going to go to get an animal science degree and like to maybe go to Texas A&M vet school.
Okay.
And be a vet was what I've been thinking about a lot as growing up. That was a big plan of my life. But recently, also looked into being a pilot.
Okay.
Because as we've talked about, I got to travel a lot, and I would love to be able to travel later on in life, fly free. I'd love to fly missions trips around the world. And so traveling is a big passion of mine, I guess you could say,
Oh, yeah.
from growing up. So a pilot is a big option. But those are the two things I feel like I love to do and would feel like I'm being called to share the gospel in some way.
So was some of that shaped, like, you have a job currently that you're holding down, been holding it down for a couple of years, from what I understand. What is that? Because it's kind of unique here in our area. Where do you work? What do you do?
So I'll start at the beginning, kind of quick summary.
Sure.
I was 14 years old. I had just turned 14, and I turned 14 in the summer, but that Christmas, I was 13 at that time, we found a petting zoo going on in our town square. They had a bunch of farm animals, and they had fallow deer and wallabies, all in
What's
this
a wallaby,
petting zoo.
for people who don't know what a wallaby is?
So a wallaby is basically, to just summarize it up, it's a miniature kangaroo.
Come on now. Who doesn't love a miniature kangaroo?
Exactly. So they're part of the family. It's not literally like a breed of, we just made it miniature. I mean, they got longer fur and stuff, so they're softer. Whereas kangaroos, they don't have much fur. It's almost just skin, right? Well, they got a bunch of fur on. They're like 3 feet tall.
Oh, come on.
And they're adorable. They're my favorite
Cute
animals
giant
we
rabbit.
have. But my mom saw it and she was like, oh, Gabe would love this. So she talked to the owner and they take volunteers. So 14, we got a new house. This is 2020, actually. So COVID hit. We just bought a new house and they're kind of stopped from traveling. So what they do is they travel all over the U.S. and set up petting zoos, pony rides, where they set up literally ponies and walk you in a carousel, kind of like the fake ponies you would ride, but it's real ponies just in a carousel. And then they do like animal races. So they take instead of a pig race, they race like a goat, a sheep, a chicken, a duck, and a pig all at the same time.
You're kidding me.
Yes, they do on the road. So they do all over the U.S. And so they do all this stuff, but they're grounded and their home base is in Seaville.
Now, I've heard some people refer to these folks as gypsies. Would you say that they're gypsies?
I don't know what the definition
I don't
of
really know what a
gypsy is.
gypsy. Yeah, I like the only thing that comes to mind whenever I hear gypsies are like movie folks where they travel a bunch. They kind of have a very tight culture.
Yeah,
Maybe, but here's the part I think maybe kind of questionable on their morals and whatnot.
so they definitely are in the sense they're very connected. It's kind of like a family.
Very.
So a lot of the people have been there forever, like very connected. And
Is it all one family or is it a bunch of different people who are like consider each other family?
So they're not all related, but I bet there's like, I don't know, probably 15 that have been there, I don't know, 20 years. And they're just like connected.
That's awesome.
And so they have like get-togethers on New Year's Eve or different things. So they're very connected in that sense. And they do travel. And in fact, on the movie side, if you've ever watched Twilight, they have deer that are in Twilight.
Oh,
So
okay.
the deer are their deer. Or Harry and the Hendersons with the Bigfoot.
Okay.
So their deer's in there. They're in Duck Dynasty. They got an episode with Duck Dynasty. I mean, they're in a bunch of stuff. So they are connected also in the movie side. They do a bunch of different things. They have a diner out there. They just opened a mercantile store that they're, getting employees. They shut it down because a bunch of people are going on the road. I'm actually about to go on the road to Oklahoma for a month.
So you travel with them.
I've traveled once before. I took a spring
You're
break.
a traveling gypsy. Look at you, my man.
I took a spring break. I was homeschooled, so it's flexible with the job. But at spring break, I took 7 days straight. I went to Houston, which is their biggest show. They go to the Houston rodeo. And 7 days straight, like constant work, ton of work. But yeah, I worked the pony rides. So they'd send kids in, you'd load them up on the pony, tie them down, make sure they don't fall off, and walk it in a circle, unload them, and take the next kids in. And it was like, they run it from, I want to say it opens like 8 to 8. It's open 12 hours a day. And then you get there earlier and later to get ready and shut down. So you're working, and in those 12 hours, the line never stopped.
Whoa.
Constant kids. Crazy stories too. Like we had a lady walk up. She's like in her 20s. And she pulls up this photo. She goes, can I get a picture? We have this pony named Twinkie. And she goes, can I get a picture with Twinkie? Here's a picture of me riding him when I was 6.
Whoa.
And so we take care of these ponies. Some of them live over 30 years. And so this lady rode it when she was like a little kid. And now I bet she was early or late 20s. So crazy stories of, yeah, they've been doing it a long time.
So your main responsibility when you're working with those guys is the animals?
Yep.
Is to the animals?
Yep.
So there's the love for animals woven back into your...
Yeah, it was a dream come true getting it. So I volunteered there for 8 months. And then they offered me a job. I was 14. And my dad told me, he was like, when it becomes a job, you might not like it the same. And I was like, no, I think I want it. I'm doing the same thing. I'm just making money. And the first summer, 14 years old, my parents were so good to me. They drove me to work in the morning, picked me up for lunch, drove me back after lunch, and picked me up at the end of the day. I was working 3 days a week at 14 through the summer, 8 hours a day. And 14 years old, I'll tell you what, that first summer I hated it. I did not want to go to work because I don't know. I guess you're growing up, you don't understand hard work like that.
Right.
And then you get thrown into it and you're like, whoa, this is a lot, right? So at the beginning, I didn't like it. And then going through it, I learned to love it. And so loving animals, I get to do vet work, hoof trimming, different things like that. I learn a ton with animals. Right now that I've graduated high school and I don't go to college until January, I'm working just full time, 40 hours a week, sometimes more.
Whoa.
Just busting it up.
There you go, man.
So, yeah.
That
That's
is
it. But
awesome.
I take care of the animals. I go in the mornings, feed the animals, feed all the animals. We do chores, let them out into the fields, things like that. Then I clean pens, make sure everything's clean, make sure water stay cold and fresh for the animals, things like that. We do every now and then, if we have time or if we have other workers doing chores, I'll weed eat and mow, keep the grass down. And then in the evenings, you go back, clean pens, lock them back up for the night so things don't get them, and then head out and just repeat. So,
dude, that's a mountain of a job right there.
Oh yeah,
sounds like an amazing one for sure. There's a couple guys that I can definitely introduce you to as far as the other side, the aviation side of things. I got a couple close friends who are one's launching a business, his own private charter business, and then one's in the the grind of big time aviation. Works for, I can't remember what the name of the company is, but they could definitely at least share with you their perspective a little bit.
Oh yeah,
they may be jaded by it at this point. Not so much fun in the sun and travel, but I think they've got a real handle on like what it's like to be a pilot and on the road and seeing a bunch of cool spots.
I would take any input.
Yeah.
So I'm totally open to learning from people. I've met with multiple people already on the aviation side and just been asking questions because I don't know much about that. Animals I know some stuff about, but that not so much. So down to learn more. So.
Oh, I love it. Well, dude, thank you so much for coming by today and like just taking an interest in a little bit of what I do. And I'm probably going to say it and put it at the beginning of this podcast, but like I have a lot of people ask me a lot of the same questions that you were asking me here today. And so thank you for being the guinea pig of just getting to sit down with you and, you get to ask the questions. I get to authentically answer them rather than going, for the 900th time out there, whoever's asking for it. Yeah. So thank you so much, man. I think your podcast, you and your buddy, is going to be amazing as you implement some of the things. Your heart's in the right place. You just want to share the love of Jesus with everybody. And what can go wrong with that?
Exactly.
I think there's some really cool things that maybe, we talked about here today that if you implement as far as strategy and as far as like psychology of people and why they watch, because there's nothing more frustrating to me than like, especially the gospel, when you have the greatest like product or whatever, you have the greatest thing that everybody needs. Like if they would just give it a listen for a couple of minutes or watch it for a couple of minutes, it might change their life. And not to have them like stick around long enough to get a part of that. That's so frustrating to me. It's like, I want to learn how to do that better so that people can actually get it. I think you have a real shot at it, man. You have a wonderful, wonderful personality. You've always been a good dude, and that's why I trust you on the podcast to share your heart with about China and your family and everything. I think you've got a bright, incredible future ahead of you. You're a smart, very capable young man, and I cannot wait to see what God does with your world, whether that's aviation or animals or veterinary stuff or whatever it is. It's going to be a wild and wonderful ride, man.
Dude, thank you so much for having me on. I'm so glad I could be the guinea pig and ask all the questions. And so happy that you got to answer. You gave me great answers. I'm looking forward to jumping in there and trying to get it done. And dude, thank you again so much. I loved listening to your podcast. It's been an encouragement to see like somebody that I know doing a great podcast. Because just so you know, I do listen to them.
Yeah.
I watch them
I asked you that earlier. I'm like, have you ever seen the podcast? Because I don't anticipate that anybody's watched it. I'd be like, you've seen the podcast, right? You're like, yeah, I actually watched it.
Yes, I do. I love listening to podcasts while I'm at work. So I've listened to your podcast, and I'm so happy to come on here and get to chat it up with you.
Well, dude, Honor to have you. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you.
All right.